After he saw me off, still with the same unsettling grin upon his face, I made my way to school.
Morning, Emily!
Good morning, Kobayashi. Kobayashi was the first to greet me as I entered the classroom. I could see a number of different tools scattered across his desk, more than just his special 7. Has Akachi not arrived? I'm used to seeing him studying before anyone else has walked through the door.
Oh, Akachi's having a little tryst out in the courtyard.
A tryst, you say?
What? Is that a joke?
No sooner had Kobayashi spoke did Watson, who had been within earshot, leap into the conversation with a shout. So he's meeting with a girl?
I believe you're referring to the chap from Harrington's primary school who was here. I noticed he was following Akechi earlier.
That's the one.
Oh, that's what you meant.
So it was a boy. Even so, the Academy's primary school is no short walk. What could he have wanted?
Wanna know? Why not take a peek, then?
Kobayashi, I seem to recall Akachi telling you to tidy your desk.
I can do that later. And even if I don't, the worst that could come of it is him getting cross with me. It'll be fine.
Are you certain that will do, Kobayashi? I felt as though, if the choice were mine to make, I would prefer to avoid rousing Akachi's ire. Kobayashi's tidying was far from complete, but we made our way to the courtyard regardless. I'm coming along anyway. Apparently. Upon reaching the courtyard, we found Akachi with a young, dark-haired boy who could not have been older than 10 years. Why are your eyes so freakishly gigantic, my sir? What happened to you? You look so unlike anybody else I've seen. Alright. Please teach me. I'm sorry, but I've no intention of taking any students. The unflappable detective's brows lifted in uncertainty. He didn't quite know how to handle this child. Much like you, I am still a student. There is still so much I need to learn, so much training yet to do. Your time would be more gainfully spent attending to the words of your teachers, rather than seeking instruction from the likes of me. This boy, Rick, persisted in his request, but Akachi remained firm. After several more protests, he relented and departed. Kobayashi, might I ask what you're doing here? Certainly you're not already finished with the rubbish around your desk. How did he know we were here? He addressed us without having turned his back.
What? Are you accusing me of not finishing my work? Were you watching?
Of course not. It's a logical deduction. There is no way you could have finished tending to that mess in so short a time.
Oh, that's true. But I'll have you know, none of that is rubbish. Those time-tested tools have been there for me in both good times and bad, and...
I confess to being more surprised that you've accompanied him, Miss Whiteley. Good morning. Is that boy we saw a student of yours? How you could have been watching this entire time and reached that conclusion is beyond my comprehension. I happened to pass by at an opportune moment and saved him from the torment of a group of older students. Since then, he's followed me here and there, insisting that I take him on as a pupil. Aw, you're a hero.
Aha! From when you fought those boys behind the gymnasium with a stick, right?
Oh? A stick? I could hardly draw my blade against those who are unarmed and have no martial training to speak of, after all. Akachi spoke matter-of-factly, adjusting the katana where it was slung at his waist. It always sounds like he's reloading his shotgun whenever the katana sound plays. I'm like, yes, his shotgun katana. Would it truly be so burdensome to take on just one student? Regrettable it may be, but I'm afraid I don't have the time for it. Moreover, the relationship between student and teacher is not one that should be taken or formed lightly. Oh yeah, after what we learned about him last time. Wise words. Oh. As I observed Akachi's downcast face, I realized the gravity of my suggestion. The issue of masters and pupils was a topic about which Akachi was rather sensitive. I can guess at what he may be feeling. Japanese martial arts must appear in his eyes as an exceptional novelty. I've heard the famous detective Sherlock Holmes is a skilled practitioner of jujutsu, too.
You think that was it? I was under the impression he wanted to be as strong as his rescuer. Being Japanese had nothing to do with it. Take me, for example. I know I'm rather jealous of your martial prowess. I'm no good at hand-to-hand combat.
Kobayashi, I told you this once before. Kobayashi wore a cheerful smile, but Akachi's expression darkened. To those who were born here, we are nothing more than outsiders.
That isn't true.
I couldn't help but interject. Thank you, Emily.
The two of you are our friends. We think of you as peers, not outsiders. Friends, huh?
A noble sentiment, Miss Whiteley, but broad-minded folk like yourself are the exception rather than the rule in this world. That said, I wouldn't expect the reality to be apparent to one born and raised in Ingelsch.
I wasn't sure how I ought to reply.
My apologies. I've been cruel. I only wish for you to know there are things about a country, about a people, that only those who have come from the outside can know.
Akachi then returned to the classroom, leaving both Kobayashi and I where we stood.
Akachi.
His suggestion of things known to him but unknowable to me served to broaden the distance between us. In truth, I felt lonelier the more I dwelt on it. I don't want you to misunderstand, Emily. Akachi and I are grateful for the warm welcome you've given us. How to say it? Being wrapped in that warmth makes the chill outside seem colder than it is.
What do you mean?
For a brief moment, Kobayashi's expression betrayed an uncharacteristic gloom as well. On second thought, you don't have to worry about it. We should get back to the classroom. Our tardiness will only give him one more excuse to be grumpy.
I suppose you're right.
I know what he meant. Don't pursue the matter any further. The best I could do with that subtle press was to nod in agreement in return. But I ain't no dummy. I'm returning to this later. Good morning, Mr. Mackenzie.
Good morning, class. Are you alright, Kobayashi? Your desk is in a state of disarray.
I'm fantastic. Pardon the mess, sir.
Really, I insist you cast it to the back of your mind, Mr. Mackenzie. Would you continue?
Very well.
Akachi was in usual form, displaying no mercy to those who forgot their homework, fell asleep in class, or were slovenly in their dress. Lessons ended. All was well.
This seems as good a stopping point as any, so we shall leave off here and resume tomorrow. Do take care on your way home. Oh, Akachi and Kobayashi, I should like you to stay behind. I have a small matter that requires discussing.
Why me? I'm not a class representative.
If he's asked you to stay, you're staying.
It's not unusual for Mr. Mackenzie to speak with Akachi after school, but Kobayashi as well? The urge to listen in was growing within me. Yeah, I'm sticking around because I'm worried. Remembering what I had heard in the courtyard, I once again permitted my curiosity to get the better of me. What does Mr. Mackenzie want with them? If they do happen to notice me, I shall pretend that I have a question about today's lessons. Perfect! No one could argue the idea. With confidence growing, I hurried out of the classroom. That's a foolproof plan. It was as I was halfway down the staircase that their voices reached my ears.
I'm sorry to have kept you waiting for so long. I have a new job for the both of you. A client has requested the school to search for a stolen family heirloom, and it would please me so if you two were the ones charged with finding it. You'll find their address in the materials presented.
If I may ask, does the client know to expect us? More precisely, that we're Japanese.
He is aware and takes no issue. Quite the contrary, in fact. When I told him you were both from the East, here to study abroad, he responded with fascination, and was very keen to give you the job.
I see. Akachi's face alighted with genuine relief.
I regret what happened with the job I last assigned you through the academy.
Oh, that's why he's like so on edge. Ugh, these boys are having such a tough time.
It never crossed my mind that the client would flatly turn down your aid, and for no other reason but your race.
How could anyone do that?
Don't feel guilty, sir. It was his fault, not yours, and it's all in the past now.
Kobayashi has the right of it. We're very grateful that you would see fit to extend to us more work. Thank you very much.
Akachi, you stand right alongside Holmes as one of this class's most capable and promising students. I want to do what I'm able to ensure your efforts in coming to England and your exceptional work since are rewarded. Know that I consider both of you to be my beloved students.
Aw, Mr. Mackenzie. Such a sweet boy. Mr. Mackenzie.
Thank you so much, sir.
He's right. Akachi's diligence should be rewarded. All he does is in the name of bettering himself. Thank God. I'm glad to see Mr. Mackenzie is fully aware of Akachi's qualities. But he's always been a fair teacher to us all.
Is there some way we can help you, Miss Whiteley?
Hi, Emily. What are you doing there?
Correct me if I'm mistaken, but you weren't once again... No, I simply had a question. Yes, a question for Mr. Mackenzie about the material we covered in class today.
Then by all means, will you show me which part?
As she was saying that, I'm like, did you think far enough ahead to what you were gonna ask? Dash it! I forgot to think of what to ask. The part I want to know is... Excuse us, Mr. Mackenzie. We're going to visit our new client. The more time that passes after a theft, the wider the search area grows. It is imperative we begin our investigation whilst the trail is fresh. Come, Kobayashi. Until next time, Mr. Mackenzie. And you also, Miss Whiteley.
Wait for me!
I had the urge to call out to them before they left. Good luck, and take care!
Thanks! We'll give it our best!
Kobayashi smiled, waving to me. Akachi, meanwhile, stood still. The pause was as such that I thought he would leave without responding. We will. Just 2 words. That was all. Seconds later, they were gone.
Am I correct in assuming it was out of concern for them that brought you here, Miss Whiteley?
You are. I apologize for lying, sir.
Shan't hold it against you. I'm pleased to know they have a faithful friend in you.
Nerves drained away to be replaced with a modest happiness. I was thankful again to know of his steadfast support of Akachi and Kobayashi. Best teacher. You know, it's the first time I felt sincerely glad we have you as our teacher.
Oh, the very first time.
Poor Mr. Mackenzie. We parted ways, after which I motioned to return to the classroom. I had to pass the courtyard. I expected nothing of note to rise in my venturing back, but of course something would happen. The scene was an uncomfortable one to witness. Oh my goodness. So many boys! How are there so many of you? Well, the hell? What even is that sentence? Well, the hell?
Well, the hell! How long do you plan to laze about? How hard can it be to deal with one yellow-faced monkey?
You say that, but he's not a simple one. I've never seen him let his guard down for an instant. We get close, he'll do us in before we can try anything. He's in that detective's course, too. One wrong move on our part, and we'll be the ones in a tight spot.
There's only one person they're talking about. No one's guard is better than Akachi's. As I overheard this conversation being held in the shadows, I stopped cold in my tracks, my ears straining to catch every word.
How about we report him to the yard? Say that Oriental in our school's been stealing around town.
You ever met a rich one? They're as filthy as they are poor. They won't ask questions before making the arrest.
I like it. We'll have it so that bespectacled baboon can never show his face in the city ever again.
What horror! All Akachi did was save Rick!
Flushed, I felt like striding out and confronting them then and there, but I knew well enough I stood no chance against a group of boys, each of them taller and no doubt stronger than me. What if they bound me? Carried me off? I would only make the situation worse. Hey, she's thinking ahead this time. Good job, girl.
I need to find Akachi straight away.
As fast as my legs would carry me, I rushed off. I first went to the boys' dormitory to see if Akachi and Kobayashi had returned from seeing their client. They weren't home. The only thing I could do was wait at the entrance. My efforts proved worthwhile. Oh, it's dark now. Hi, Emily. What are you doing there? Wait, have I gone insane, or didn't I just say that exact thing to you earlier today?
You're very sane. You said that very same exclamation with the same word-for-word greeting. It is a queer thing how often our paths have crossed, Miss Whiteley. Very.
Hello again. No, that wasn't it. I had something important to say, exceptionally important, and yet I was greeting them normally. Was it because the subject itself was discomforting? How was work? Will it be difficult to find your client's heirloom?
Miss Whiteley, pardon, but we cannot divulge such sensitive information.
What a nice old bloke he was, Emily! As friendly as you can picture! Based on his description, we have a pretty good idea of what we're looking for. Akachi made a sketch with the details we were given, so that should make the search simple enough.
Does client confidentiality mean nothing to you?
Akachi followed with a long, exasperated sigh. Of course it does! So, the sketch, Emily. It'll be loads useful in tracking down all those vases, to be sure. All of them? There's more than one heirloom?
Bah. 5 in total, forming a complete set. That's all you need to know. Now, what business have you here this late in the day? A request? A question?
What's the best way to go about this? Just tell him, be forthright. There you go. There's something I must tell you right away, so I came as quickly as I was able and awaited you here. Okay, actually, just seeing the heart reminded me. Because we're in a new chapter, I wanted to look at our status, see where we are. Oh, we got an A. Oh, we are full green. Okay, nice. Nice. His query brought the conversation I'd overheard in the courtyard back to the forefront of my thoughts, and in my desperation I could not help but let my lips run loose.
Well?
He could not fathom what I was about to say, certainly.
Kobayashi, I'd like you to go inside and begin work. You should begin by organizing our maps of London's districts.
Now?
Is there a problem?
Fine, fine. I'll get started. See you in a bit, Emily! Kobayashi headed into the dormitory.
So, what was it you came all this way to tell us?
I relayed to him all that I had overheard the boys saying in the courtyard. He listened in silence as I spoke. I expected a great reaction of some sort, only to receive something different.
It pains me to inform you of this after you've gone out of your way to apprise me, Miss Whiteley, but I know. They have been targeting me for some time now.
They have?
It appears they've been waiting to catch me the moment I let my mind wander, and yet the realization has slowly been dawning on them that it isn't going to happen. I invited this upon myself by my own actions. As such, it is no one's responsibility to deal with it but my own. All this fluster only to learn I've just been meddling. I want you to know how appreciative I am you went to such lengths for our sake. What? I'm happy you care about my well-being, but it's more than that. I don't know when I last had someone tell me earnestly to take care when I left, or when I last had someone greet me as I came home. Oh, my heart. Akachi, no.
Aww. I could have imagined the way his features softened, but I was hoping I didn't.
Though I am unsure whether I can condone your loitering around in front of the boys' dormitory this late, you might refrain from doing so in the future. If anything were to happen to you, that would be, bad.
You're right. All I could do was nod. Akachi escorted me all the way to the carriage that would see me home. What a gentleman. I was safely taken to the mansion and had a pleasant, restful evening. Wow. After lessons the next day, I witnessed a group of officers from Scotland Yard at the front gate. Grand.
What could they be doing at the academy?
In that moment, I recalled what I overheard those boys discussing in the courtyard just the day before. My stomach churned. A pale-haired Oriental student. Yes, you fit the description. Don't suspect there's another one like you.
Have you some business with me, officer?
Few of the students witnessing this interaction appeared concerned for Akachi. The majority glared with suspicion. You have been reported for thievery. I'll need you to come with me and explain yourself. What is all this about?
Certainly, but first could you detail this accusation?
Akachi responded to the officer in a calm voice, stretching out his arm to keep Kobayashi back. Why, when you are already well aware? You stole from an honest baker at Covent Garden Market. This is why no one trusts your damn kind.
A moment, please. Did that shopkeeper make the report personally?
Of course they did. They also reported seeing a student clad in this academy's uniform as well.
Uniform? But surely you can't presume Akachi the culprit based on that alone.
Of course not. We also received a report from a student here, informing us that a silver-haired Easterner was going about the city stealing and raising trouble. This student added that the suspect was very cautious so as not to attract the attention of the instructors. As his activity went thus undetected, he did as he pleased, which is why our intervention was requested. That story's so flimsy that it could blow away with the wind! Our investigation shall decide whether these claims have any merit. We cannot ignore a report made by a fair citizen of London.
But Akachi is...
We don't want something dirty like that in our school.
Take him away! Hurry up! There's no place for you crafty Asians here! As if to echo their hateful chorus, we heard insults and jeers hurled by onlookers. What was that? Care to say it again?
Very well. You shall have my full cooperation. Akachi? Reaching out once again to restrain his assistant, Akachi's tone was nevertheless devoid of ire. Akachi, you can't possibly be intending to go with them, can you? Miss Whiteley, there is no hiding that I am Japanese. I'm not British. I'm not a citizen of London. I knew before I set foot on Western soil that this was the sort of treatment I could expect. Trying to resist the police would only work to my detriment. Besides, I'm used to this.
But Akachi,
This problem is mine alone. Please, stop making this harder than it already is.
No. Having said his part, Akachi was led away by Scotland Yard to their waiting carriage.
Akachi.
He'll manage. Akachi has a good head on him. He'll be back before we know it. This reassurance was bereft of the usual pep and vigor. I could sense he didn't believe what he was saying, though he dearly wished he did.
Master!
The small boy appeared like magic at Kobayashi's side. This lasted mere seconds, for with a tremble to his knees and a quiver to his lips, he sprinted out to the carriage in a futile attempt to reach it before stopping. Poor Rick.
Kobayashi! Why did they take away Master Akachi?
When the boy returned to us, his eyes were puffy, face stained with tears. He clung to Kobayashi's sleeve as he pleaded.
It's because...
I had never before seen such anguish in Kobayashi. Akachi's manner was the same. He said he understood this treatment because of his status as a foreigner. And he may understand it, but that doesn't make it any less wrong. He doesn't deserve to be treated as lesser because he was born elsewhere. Anger surged within me, building and building till I was compelled to act. Be of good cheer, Rick. Akachi won't be long.
How do you know?
I know because we'll be bringing him back. Right this way.
What? Where are you going?
To Covent Garden Market. We've inquiries to make with this baker. It's the only way to prove Akachi's innocence.
I don't see any reason to object when sulking won't get anything done. After you, Emily!
We made our way in haste to Covent Garden Market. I like that I've just acquired Kobayashi as my assistant now. Our numerous questions upon finding the victim's stall ranged between broad and meticulous. Whatever there was to ask, whatever lead we had to follow, new or planned, we brought it forth. The investigation was, in some sense, an immediate success. We learned of several thefts dating to before Akachi had first set foot in the country. And then there was a most interesting detail. It was not one thief, but many, dressed in the same uniform, with no pale-haired boy to be counted in their group. Interesting. We took our findings to Scotland Yard. Hey, Lestrade, it's been ages.
Well, if it isn't Miss Whiteley. I don't often see you outside the company of young Holmes.
Inspector Lestrade! What fortune to run into the inspector right away. There was no better man to approach for this. He was not perfect, naturally. A bit unreliable without detectives to aid him, dang. But I knew he was a man who would prefer to listen rather than dismiss.
Miss Whiteley, you wouldn't happen to be holding your tongue on some ungracious thought about me, would you?
No, of course not.
Inspector! You may not always be the right man for the job, but I know you've got a good heart. And right now that suits my needs just fine. What's all this? I don't know if it's in your character or if you are in a sudden state, but don't you get fresh with me, young man.
Once he was calm, we reported our findings with conscientious detail. Poor Lestrade.
I see. I am sorry to hear of it. I shall go and recommend that he be released directly. You will? The arrest of innocents is a poor showing of Scotland Yard's power of discernment. I want our people to trust our judgment.
You're doing us a great service, Inspector.
Of late, there has been a conspicuous number of cases involving foreigners charged with theft and kidnapping. Cases of children being abducted and trafficked abroad. It may be this that has many of my colleagues casting a wary eye towards foreigners of every stripe. It is a lamentable position to be in.
He gave us his word again before he left us.
I hope we can hold him to it.
I'm certain all will be well in no time. Akachi is innocent. They can't keep him forever.
That's true. He is innocent. We'll simply have to hope more see that.
Night passed. Morning arrived. I didn't know what to expect when I entered the classroom for the day, but to my elation, Akachi was present. Akachi!
Good morning, Miss Whiteley.
He carried the same polite air he always did, as though nothing had happened.
You know, if you continue standing there, our schoolmates won't be able to enter the classroom.
Don't give me that! Are you well? Did the inspector intercede for you like he said he would? I stepped forwards and reached for his sleeve.
Yes. Yes, he did.
I could feel Akachi tense at my touch, though he made no move to shake free from my grasp.
I want to know something, Miss Whiteley. Why would you go so far for my sake?
Why? That's a simple enough thing to answer. Because you're my friend, because you're my schoolmate, or smash the because you're important to me. My friend, my schoolmate, blah.
Well,
I knew what I felt. I did, but was unsure as to how to phrase it.
it's difficult to put into words, but you're important to me.
Yeah, thump thump goes the heart.
Besides, I don't want to consider how things might be if you never return to us. I'd be lonely without you here.
Lonely? Akachi gave me a bewildered look. What?
You'd be lonely without me.
Yes, of course I would.
I see.
I had no idea why he was looking at me with such a perplexion. It's because he saw none, son.
I'm sorry. I'm unused to hearing such things from anyone. And, Miss Whiteley, how long are you going to...
Akachi's eyes flickered awkwardly to where I still clung to his arm.
Oh, goodness! Look at me. I acted without thinking.
I rushedly released my grip on him.
You remind me of how assertive Western women can be. It's as if I learn something new whenever I'm with you. Still, it may not be the best idea for women to approach men with such pronounced lack of caution.
And why is that?
I shall let you contemplate why. At any rate, I would ask that you not grab another's hands and arms without warning. The surprise nearly stopped my heart. But I've strayed from my initial point. Miss Whiteley, I owe you a great debt. It was never my wish to do anything that would cause you inconvenience.
You've never been an inconvenience to me, nor should you ever worry about doing so.
I'm afraid I cannot do that. I never forget my debts, doubly so those of gratitude. If there's anything I can do for you, don't hesitate to let me know. I would like to return the favor.
Anything? Well, I can think of one thing.
You have but to ask it.
I want you to let me help you.
I don't understand.